Okay, it is 20 hours now, 8 p.m. Indian time. Let us start our class. I welcome all of you in the very first class of the level 2 SBC. I hope all of you enjoyed and learned in the level 1 class. 16 classes of SBC level 1 has finished, and I hope you gained and you learned about the SBC. Now, this level 2 classes will mainly focus on the use of Sarvatobhadra Chakra in financial astrology, and besides the Sarvatobhadra Chakra, we will also learn some other Jyotish techniques which should be used in business astrology, because ultimately our aim is to win in the markets, whether it is Sarvatobhadra Chakra, whether it is Ashtakvarga, whether it is any other technique told by our learned seers in Arghakand. Arghakand means financial astrology in English. In Hindi, it is called Arghakand. Argh means financial markets. So we will basically focus in this level 2 classes on Sarvatobhadra Chakra, but we will also learn some other useful techniques, Jyotish techniques, especially Ashtakvarga, which I have been employing in predicting the markets since last more than 20 years. And I have got some very fantastic results in the stock market. So therefore, I will also concentrate on Ashtakvarga also later on in some of the classes. So now let us start our very first class. Welcome, I welcome all of you. Good night, this is Indian time, and good morning to those who are joining from the USA. So let me share first of all my screens. I hope you can view my screen now. Yes or no? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
You can view my screen. Okay, thank you. So now this is the introductory class basically, and I will concentrate on some introduction of the financial astrology, because many of us here in the class are quite new to financial astrology. Some are very veteran, I know, and some are very new to the concept of financial astrology. So let us start from the beginning. The financial astrology, art of forecasting business cycles with the help of ancient Indian astrology. This is the basic concept. Financial astrology is a time-tested way to look into the future and have clues as to what psychological changes may be approaching. John J. O'Neill, a Pulitzer Prize winner and former science editor of the New York Tribune, once said, "Scientists today cannot look down on astrology. Instead, They must raise their eyes to take in the higher horizons that astrologers have preserved for them. Astrology is one of the most important fields for scientific research today and one of the most neglected. These were the words of John J. O'Neill, who is a Pulitzer Prize winner. Market forecasting is a scientific exposition of the influence of heavenly bodies on fluctuation of values. The stellar influence in human life and in all mundane affairs is now an undeniable fact. The astrological laws have stood the test of proof, and anyone who cares to study the subject with an open mind will find that he is dealing with immutable laws, not fanciful imaginings. Astrology is at a stage where it can speak for itself in the hands of any capable exponent. %80 of market trends are caused by fluctuations in investor psychology. Fear, excitement, greed, and over-optimism. Napoleon once said, greed and fear were the two levers by which men are controlled. In fact, recessions begin and end in the minds of men. The ups and downs of the business cycle, the stock market, gold, silver, real estate, etc., are caused by men. And since the actions of men are the result of their thinking, be it positive or negative, the cure must lie in a change of thought. Economics and psychology go hand in hand. Hence, the need for studying economic psychology. Now the question is whether investor psychology is miserable. The answer is yes. And the financial astrology tries to do exactly that. I again repeat, what is the financial astrology? If we take the explanation of financial astrology in one sentence, financial astrology is simply measuring the investor psychology. Astrology. It's a tool to measure the investor psychology, nothing else. Dr. Arthur F. Burns, former chairman of the President's Council of Economic Advisors and considered to be the world's foremost authority on business cycles, once observed, economists have not yet evolved, if they ever will, a technique for making dependable forecasts. The oldest technique for the study of investor psychology has been indicated by Dr. Carl G. Jung of Zurich, Switzerland, one of the world's greatest psychologist he was, Dr. Carl G. Jung, who has stated, astrology represents the summation of all the psychological knowledge of antiquity. Most of the forecast methodologies are ancient Vedic or Indian astrology principles. But wherever we have found something significant in other systems of astrology, we have adopted it too. And we should. We should adopt anything good found anywhere. In the struggle to attain the truth, the most significant thing, after all, is not the finding but the seeking. That man has done enough who can claim to have honestly searched. We believe that all students of astrology should have some knowledge of what has transpired in the fields of science and economics, which have shown that the basic principles of the age-old art of astrology are just as valid in this technological world as they were in the ancient agricultural societies of 4,000, 5,000 years ago. Now, a brief introduction to business astrology or financials. Ancient Indian astrology is called as Arghakand or Arghakand. You will find the mention of financial astrology in Sanskrit or Hindi books as Arghakand or Arghakand. It means those books or those chapters relate to financial astrology. The Indian tradition of knowledge is like an ocean, so vast and encompassing, so encyclopedic in its range, that like mercury, it is not graspable in its entirety. Sourced in Shrutis and Smritis, it has been difficult to put it in script or language. This knowledge is not a product of the mind, but owes itself to divinity, and even the Vedanta is like the tip of the iceberg. To the extent it has been transcribed in intelligible words in the form of thousands of Sanskrit scriptures whose origins are obscure and cannot be reduced to historical chronology, nor to
the Navane Bath adallam, it's not showing up in the menu, yeah, but it's always there when you go actually. In the morning na food up, nee vana poi vaindu please, sir. எனக்கும் Navane Bath da. Just by maybe one Shavige Bath alone as a extra idavalo.
Pardon? I could not follow you. Who is speaking? Pardon? Anybody was speaking something? Okay. Perhaps it was.
I think Mr. Mukund was talking.
Yeah. So sorry, I was not on mute actually.
Okay. So it was not meant for me, na? Your talk. Okay.
So, yeah. Sorry about it.
Okay, no problem. So we were here. It It has been transcribed in intelligible words in the form of thousands of Sanskrit scriptures whose origins are obscure and cannot be reduced to historical chronology nor into a logical sequence. Astrology is one of the most important Vedang, means part of Vedas, and India has rocked its cradle. This great heritage of the past is being slowly rediscovered through the efforts of research scholars. It is a pity that we are living in an age of astonishing contradiction. The contrast between our expanding historical horizon and our contracting historical vision is something characteristic of our age of civilization. The Egyptians, Chaldeans, Chinese, Greeks, Hindus has all been enduring with more or less success to predict the destiny of men and matter by the position of planets. These all ancient civilizations, Egyptians, Chaldeans, Chinese, Greeks, and Hindus, all of us are trying since thousands of years and have succeeded to some extent. Indian philosophy has given second rank to Artha, the money. Arth means money in Hindi, and in English we will call it the money. After Dharma, the sacred duties, in the four Purushartha. Therefore, it is not amazing that Vedic astrology has a separate division in it, termed as Arghakand or Arghakand, which deals exclusively with money. Excuse me. Hello? Yes, Mr. Chidambaram, you please log in into the LMS. Can you log in into the LMS? No, password is same. Actually, you log in into the LMS, and thereafter you will see the level 2 course there. Yes. But the class is on, so I can't help Mr. Chidambaram at this moment. Sorry for the disturbance. There was a phone from one of our registrant, Mr. Chidambaram. Perhaps he is facing some problem in logging in. Okay. The learned seers and their ancient followers has told us the methods to foresee market trends of various commodities to enable men to earn earth for upkeep of his family property. So it is the very much part of Vedic astrology. The purpose of telling it that to earn earth, the money, is one of our sacred duties, and Vedic astrology has told the methods how to earn the money, and it is told in Arghakand or Arghakand. The very essence of economics is that it is a study of human behavior, of the life of men, and basically of the mental life of men. It takes cognizance of facts in the external world, not for their own sake, but only because of their relations to the mind of man. It is a study of some of the causes and effects of those conscious or unconscious decisions that men inevitably make in their rational or instinctive struggle to earn a living and to satisfy at least some of their desires by adjusting the external world to themselves and perhaps thereby securing happiness and well-being. It will not be exaggeration to say that recessions begin and end in the minds of men. As I already told you in previous, Carl J. Jung of Zurich, one of the world's greatest psychologists, has stated, astrology represents the summation of all the psychological knowledge of antiquity. W.D. Gann of Texas, USA, the market legend, mesmerized the trading world of the early 1900s with his amazing techniques of measuring price and time. He spent several years in India studying our style of astrology. Gann could pick market bottoms and tops with uncanny accuracy. Gann's repeated answer to all the queries was that he had discovered what he termed as the law of vibrations, which he said was subject to natural forces. If Gann's statement is correct, Ashtakvarga and Sarvatobhadra Chakra are the best tool available in astrology to understand his law of vibration. These two things, Ashtakvarga and Sarvatobhadra Chakra, both are the best tools to understand the law of vibrations. Now, financial astrology, status of financial astrology in computer realm. The subject of Arghakand or the financial astrology is very important, but very intricate and laborious. Astrological calculations are involved in it. This has hampered proper research in this field till now. Thousands of interplanetary relations and hundreds of astrological principles to measure exact planetary strength, and that too for each of the day, makes the task almost impossible or difficult. If not impossible, difficult, very difficult. With the advent of computers, this task should have become a bit easier. The financial astrology has remained untouched mostly in India as far as computers are concerned. Western financial astrologers are now making use of computers. Actually, what I feel that in India, the persons who know astrology do not know programming. And the persons who know programming do not know astrology. This is the mismatch. That's why this research in in the field of financial astrology has remained stalled. The yes, anybody? Yes. The learned Pandits of Kashi or elsewhere in India, there are hundreds of very learned Pandits who know this financial astrology, Arghakand, but they don't know computers, they don't know programming, and the very intelligent programmers, computer programmers, do not know astrology. So this gap is hampering the progress. Excuse me. Western financial astrologers are now making use of computers since long. Vedic astrology can give much finer results in the field of finance or market trends. If proper researches be undertaken based on mystic principles toned in our ancient scriptures. It is the humble duty of all those who are capable of towards the great Indian heritage of mystic sciences and to contribute to the efforts of well-meaning persons trying to save these sciences from going into oblivion. Financial astrology is an aid to technical analysis. It is not I never say that financial astrology is a replacement to other tools used by the traders. Technical analysis is a great tool. I never say that you replace the technical analysis with the financial astrology, or you should replace the financial astrology with the technical. Both are complementary to each other. If you know the technical analysis and you also learned the financial astrology, you are bound to become a very successful trader, no doubt. So always remember that financial astrology is complementary to technical analysis. It is an aid to technical analysis. If a technical analyst could know the approximate dates of turning points of the market, he could be a leader trader. Technical analysts normally say that this is the support level, this is the upper level, possible upper level, like that. All these things. It is making this pattern, so it will repeat this pattern. But he don't know when this thing could happen. The approximate turning points. Because he knows he can, technical analysis has given him some knowledge to predict the possible market levels, but he doesn't know the turning points of the market. If he could be a leader trader. Here, financial astrology comes into the picture. A good analyst knows the support and resistance levels of the market, but he is never sure when they can be reached by the market. Financial astrology helps him in determining the approximate dates of these phenomena. timing of market movements can be best ascertained by astrology, while the quantum of movement is better judged by technical analysis. Now, there are tools in Sarvatobhadra Chakra, there are methods in Sarvatobhadra Chakra, which measure the quantum of movement also. But technical analysis, and if you are using the technical analysis also, and you are using the Sarvatobhadra Chakra also, and trying to ascertain the quantum by both the methods. And if both the methods are directing you to a particular direction, your judgment is, your decision is doubly correct. Hence, both the systems are complementary to each other. Always remember. Now, who may be the best beneficiary of financial astrology? The person with flair of technical, as I'm again repeating, who may be the best beneficiary of course, if you know financial astrology, you can predict the markets, you can be a winner. But I am talking about the best possible combination. What qualifications a good trader should have? So, person with flair of technical analysis and having deep understanding of astrology is the best person. A person who is able to correlate the technical trends of the market with the planetary configurations is the best person. He can earn a lot. Conceiving an idea and transforming it into a complete program is one side of the story. To validate the churned out computer data with historical market statistics is yet another side. Without this exercise, faith factor cannot be incorporated in the system. How successfully an astrological principle depicted the past market moves decides the validity percentage of that principle, at which rate one can rely on it for future guidance. And of course, it is a very laborious work. Now, efficacy of Vedic astrology principles in market forecasts. Ancient sages has written about several astrological principles which, according to them, create bullish or bearish tendencies in the market of the concerned commodity or stock. These principles incorporate the Vedic concept of lordships of various planets, signs, and constellations over various commodities or stocks, benefic and malefic nature of planets, the result of their aspects, and so many other such factors. Thousands of mutations and permutations thereof has been told, banking upon the fact that the principles told by these same sages has been working excellently in natal astrology, then why their astrological principles shall not work in financial sector? However, the main hindering factor in the usage of these principles is that a lot of chaff has been mixed in their original sayings. This is the problem, main problem, that lot of chaff has been mixed in their original saying. While percolating down from pre-Christ era till today, each new author has added some of his own wisdom into the originally laid down principles. Therefore, a thorough research is needed to separate the chaff from the grain. I know a few persons who are practicing Sarvatobhadra Chakra. They have studied it, but they have added Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto into it. They say that books have omitted these 3 planets. I always say that our learned seers are very intelligent. If they have left these 3 big planets like Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, there must be some reason. There must be unusefulness of these planets. And they have added imaginary points like Rahu and Ketu, but have omitted these 3 planets. There must be some logic behind it. Of course, they have not written it, but we should believe them. So we should not mix the chaff into the grain. We should stick strictly what has been written in the original text. That's why I always try to read a book in Hindi instead of written in English, because actually I should have read, and I always miss that I cannot read Sanskrit to read the original text, because I don't know that much of Sanskrit. But still, Hindi versions are still much better than English versions, because a lot of chaff has been mixed while writing the modern English books found in the market. And you will get confused. A lot of chaff has been mixed in the grain, and you will reach nowhere. So that's why I always advise you, if you can understand Hindi, try to read good books by good authors written in Hindi. Okay. Of course, persons who do not know English or Hindi, like persons from South India or from other countries, but that's a handicap. As I myself feel handicapped sometimes, because I do not know Tamil, and I know a lot of good literature is available in Tamil for Panch Pakshi. But it's a handicap for me that I cannot read that good literature. So sometimes it happens. Okay. Now.
So, sir, will you recommend some good books at the end of or somewhere along the line, the books?
Yes, sure. I will surely, when we will proceed, I will scan the pages from those books and translate into the English also for the benefit of those who do not know Hindi. Yeah? I will keep doing it. A very good book, which I would say is actually it is not available as a separate book. It is a chapter in a compilation of several chapters compiled in the form of a book, and many of you might be having that book already. I hope, because it is a very popular book on financial astrology. It is called Vyapar Ratna by Hardev Sharma Trivedi. And it in previous old versions, it missed an chapter on Sarvatobhadra Chakra, but later on it added in new versions. And now in the market, you can buy Vyapar Ratna. And there is a chapter, a very exhaustive chapter on Sarvatobhadra Chakra, written by Pandya Motilal Nagar. And it is a very good book on financial astrology, use of Sarvatobhadra Chakra. Similarly, there is another book by Pandit Meethalal Vyas, Sarvatobhadra Chakra. So there are few books like that who quote from the original Sanskrit shlokas. They do not try to mix the chaff into the grain, because I have seen a lot of books in the market recently. I will not name the author due to obvious reasons, but they are just rubbish. A few books on Sarvatobhadra Chakra have come in the market. One book, I think by Mr. M.K. Agarwal, is comparatively better in English. But I saw a few more books written in English. They are just rubbish. So that's why I was just telling that. Okay. 1 minute. Now, the question arises, do astrological techniques work every time? This is a most common question. Everybody asks, what is the success ratio of, I have been facing this question since decades. What is your success ratio? Of course, this is the most frequently asked question. My answer is, of course not. If they did, astrologers would own half the world. We should be practical. It does work well enough to keep you on the right side of the market most of the time, and make it possible to find at least several high profit and low risk trades a month. But you cannot be correct all the time or most of the time. You should always remember. Yes, that is about all you can ask of any methodology. Not only about SBC, of any methodology, whether it is Vedic astrology based or Western astrology based. Not only that, it is fun to be able to analyze the market in a way that gives you insight into the secret motivations of the collective market mind. The very essence of economics is that it is a study of human behavior, of the life of man, and basically of the mental life of man. It takes cognizance of facts in the external world, not for their own sakes, but only because of their relations of the mind of man. It is a study of some of the causes and effects of those conscious or unconscious decisions that men inevitably make in their rational or instinctive struggle to earn a living and to satisfy at least some of their desires by adjusting the external world to themselves and perhaps thereby securing happiness and well-being. I was just mentioning about the WD. Whenever a discussion will start on financial astrology and success in financial astrology, name of WD Gann will invariably come there. He has been a legend. WD Gann, he visited India to learn astrology, as I told you. WD Gann will be remembered and carried into history forever, as he was one of the great men of his time that stimulated thought and insisted upon research. His techniques are still being used today by successful traders around the world. As it is said, I don't know if anybody knows his techniques properly, but there are a lot of schools running on the name of W.D. Gann. So I don't know if those people really know the Gann techniques, but let us believe. Without a doubt, the name W.D. Gann is truly legendary in the trading world. William Delbert Gann. This is his photo, W.D. Gann. William Delbert Gann, better known the world over as W.D. Gann, is a legend in the world of stock and commodity trading. He was one of the most successful and commodity traders that ever lived. He was born in Lufkin, Texas in June 1878 in a farmer's family. At the age of 25, he started commodity trading and stock market trading. But the WD that traders know today emerged after 1920. That means after about 45 years, when he's in his middle age. Using his own style of astro-technical analysis. Yes, I use the word astro-technical analysis. He used technical analysis as well as astrology. He mixed both of them. W.D. Gann took more than $50 million in profit. Please read this figure again. $50 million in 1920, not today. More than 100 years ago, $50 million means something. Out of the markets at that time, in today's markets, that would be closer to $1,000 million. Those $50 million means today's $1,000 million. Try to just think of. His techniques work in any market and in any time frame. W.D. Gann traveled to Egypt and India. And learning from these countries formed the basis of his core methodologies. He did not publicly disclose his methods, but after his death, it was found that he was using astrology. His method of using astrology was very different from the traditional astrology which we know. In the old interviews, he answered that his methods were too precious to be disclosed, for he had invested many years of research in discovering these methods. It is said that he died without telling his secrets to anyone. Now, what are the possibilities? Because W.D. Gann is recorded to visit and stay in India for considerable time. And it is said that he learned Jyotish in India. And thereafter, his trading strategies changed and he earned a lot. It means he learned something in India, which made him a leader trader. So there has been guesses because W.D. Gann never told what techniques he was using. But possibilities of W.D. Gann using Sarvatobhadra Chakra in his trading techniques is very high. There are striking similarities between Gann's various techniques and Sarvatobhadra Chakra. Among the various known techniques and charts of W.D. Gann, his square of 9, square of 4 chart jigsaw puzzle, and Gann pyramid are quite popular. If you view the diagrams of these Gann's techniques and then compare them with the diagram of Sarvatobhadra Chakra, you will feel that there is a strong possibility of W.D. Gann using Sarvatobhadra Chakra in his trading strategy. Of course, it's a guess only. But there are striking similarities between SBC and his trading techniques found at many places. Of course, these diagrams by W.D. Gann are not exactly similar to the SBC diagram. But we should not forget that in the old interviews, he answered that his methods were too precious to be disclosed, for he had invested many years of research in discovering these methods. Considering the fact that he came and stayed in India for considerable time to learn Vedic astrology, Jyotish, from the following diagrams, it is quite obvious that he was using Sarvatobhadra Chakra either in its original form or some modified coded forms so that other people cannot understand his astrological techniques. He wanted to camouflage his techniques. That was the reason. Now, see the diagram of Sarvatobhadra Chakra first and then compare it with various diagrams prepared by W.D. Gann. This is our SBC, normal SBC template. You all know about the SBC by now. So this is our normal template. Now, see here, a square of 4x chart jigsaw puzzle of the W.D. Gann. Now he is Gann pyramid. Doesn't you see that it is quite similar to our SBC here? All these things, of course, it is not completely similar, but it is quite similar, Gann pyramid. And now see Gann's square of 9. It is also quite similar to our SBC here. So he was certainly using SBC. He camouflaged his techniques here by modifying the SBC template. You will find a similarity in diagram of Sarvatobhadra Chakra and the various diagrams prepared by W.D. Gann. Of course, they are not so similar that any common person can jump to an immediate conclusion that Gann was using Sarvatobhadra Chakra. And of course, this was his motive also, that nobody should come to know that what technique he was using. As said earlier too, W.D. Gann was using SBC in modified coded forms so that other people cannot understand his astrological techniques. He wanted to camouflage his techniques, I already said. Now, when we try to learn something, we must have confidence in that technique or that method. That is very important. Whether we are investing our time in a useful technique, in a fruitful technique, when we have that confidence, then we try to learn that technique with much concentration. We invest our energies with much concentration. That's why you should have some success examples that these techniques really work. Of course, not every time they can work. But if you have some good examples of success examples, so your confidence increases. So now I will, of course, I am not myself, I don't trade now. I used to trade sometime about 20 years ago, but I don't trade anything now. I am simply a Jyotish student now, trying to learn the methods. But initially I traded in about 4-5 years between 1992 to 1997 and had quite good successes also. And that's why I had interest in financial astrology at that time. I developed some softwares, I worked a lot. So here is a classic success example from my own archives. The degree of success can only be adjusted based on actual results. Therefore, permit me to share a chain of events in their chronological order. Actually, I kept complete record of my predictions, the newspaper cuttings I kept, I still have those cuttings thereafter, and the results which came. So I did it with quite care. So I have this particular example in my records in a chronological order. Convinced of the veracity of the efforts invested in financial astrology since 1987, and feeling that the time was right, I decided to share my views on this subject with the outside world in 1996. Almost, it's 26 years ago, 1996, and this is 2020. So this is an incident 26 years ago. But it is a very good example. So which boosts my confidence in financial astrology, it will boost your confidence in financial astrology also. That's why I am bringing this old success record here in this class. Between 12th November and 22nd November, for 10 days, 1996, I sent an open printed letter, because this is the age of emails, so it is quite odd to send printed letters, to more than 8,000 fund managers portfolio managers, stockbrokers, etc., all over India. Introducing my method of analysis and prediction of a stock market. Therein also was a set of predictions pertaining to the movement of leading pivotals on the Indian stock market for the period until 31st March 1997. It means I sent the letter in the last week of November, and for next 4 months, what will happen in the market. So I tried to predict with my whatever methodology I was working at that time. It was not SBC, actually. I was working on Astakvarga at that time, and all these predictions were based on Astakvarga. As I already told, that I find both the methods quite useful. So we will discuss in these classes both the principles. The concerned forecasts were obtained through Vjyotish software based on Ashtakvarga and developed by me at that time. The relevant mundane corporate horoscopes were used for these predictions. So now have a look what the print. This was the one-page letter which I sent. This is a scanned copy of that letter dated 12th November 1996. So if I hope you can see it on your screen now. It is in quite small fonts, but I hope you can read it. I will read it because it may not be visible to many of you because it is in quite small fonts. Here, dear sir, suppose you could know in advance about an impending calamity going to strike a corporate entity, or you could know about a very good period ahead of it. Shall this advanced knowledge is of any use for persons like you who are either portfolio managers or in share broking business? Mind it that this letter was meant for portfolio managers and share broking persons, and it was sent to them. And it was based on the corporate horoscopes. I used some incorporation dates of some companies or the Sensex. Most probably, your answer shall be affirmative. Corporate future can be predicted quite in advance. We, a group of research-oriented persons, there was a friend of me also at that time who was working with me, are working on corporate horoscopes, and our experience shows that some major events in the life of those companies were clearly depicted in their astral charts. This method has helped many a times when all the fundamental and technical tools failed. All of you are having high-tech tools to analyze a script. As you know, they are big share broking firms. They are the FIIs. They are the mutual funds. They have all the costliest technical analysis and fundamental analysis softwares at their disposal. So I am talking about that when all these fundamental and technical tools failed, all of you are having high-tech tools to analyze a script, both fundamentally and technically. But could you receive a single signal through these tools about the impending calamity through which ITC Limited has to go through recently? There was some very big mishappening with the ITC. I don't remember exactly what it was. So that's why I have written it in the bold here. because it was some incident in the life of ITC, and it was quite and ITC has to suffer a lot. So I have written it in very boldly, 1996. We have an invaluable database of horoscopes of some important companies, and we have developed a system to analyze a horoscope most exclusively on day-to-day basis. Astounding results of this exercise since last many years has prompted us now to write you this letter. Portfolio management, fund management, share broking, and other such fields are some of the few areas for practical application of our system. Without going into the past achievements of this system, it will be more useful to have an bird's eye view on some results extracted out of horoscope reports of some of the corporates for near future, that is till 31st March 1997. Remember, this letter is being written on 12th November 1996, and we have given the predictions till 31st March 1997. So these were the 4 predictions simply. Now, remember these predictions and we will see the results later on. First was about the Reliance Industries. Maybe in deep crisis, specifically from 30th January 97 to 9th March 97, specific dates were there. The whole March seems to be troublesome for it. Troubles may gravitate on 6th and 7th February 97 for the company. Second was about the Bajaj Auto Limited. Is bound to enter in turbulent waters from 7th December 96 onwards. I was writing on 12th November 96. So very soon he was going to enter in turbulent waters from 7th December 96 onwards. This turbulence in its fortunes is indicated till the end of period under scrutiny, that is 31st March 97, at least, because I scrutinize only till 31st March 97. I don't know what will happen later. But I said that till the end of scrutiny, it will be in turbulent waters. Worst period may be first fortnight of January 97, with center of gravity around 4th and 5th January 1997. Very specific dates were given. Third, State Bank of India. Its corporate horoscope do not spell any doom for the bank as a corporate entity. As I have said that Bajaj Auto is in doldrums, Reliance is also in deep crisis, but State Bank horoscope was good. The relative strength of SBI script may be the main anchor for BSE Sensex stability during the first quarter of 1997, when some other heavy weight might be in turmoil. BSE says now, at last, BSE Sensex can witness a sudden upsurge from 13th December 96, exactly after 1 month. This letter was being written on 12th November. So I gave a specific date that can witness a sudden upsurge from 13th December 96 for a very short time till Christmas holidays. January and February 97 will see the Sensex going down, with SBI script trying to save it. Around 10th February 97, Monday can be a reversal point from a significant bottom. So it was, if you are interested in detailed astrological report for full year company, so I was selling it at that time. at rupees 5,000 rupees per company per year. So this was the letter. So in 1996, communication with emails was almost non-existent or in very rudimentary stage. The main medium of mass communication was still the physical printed letters sent through post, that is snail mail. The contact databases were not available in electronic form at that time. Therefore, I had to purchase a directory of fund managers, portfolio managers, stockbrokers, etc., published by Unit Trust of India, UTI. It contained about 8,000 postal addresses pan-India. I used these addresses to send individual letters to each of them. It was a massive effort on my part as an individual. I don't own a company. I don't have many employees. So it was a massive exercise to prepare 8,000 envelopes, 8,000 letters to be put into it, affixing the 8,000 stamps and posting it. So it was a massive effort as an individual. It involved not only huge physical efforts, but also lots of monetary expense. Minimum expenses per letter at that time was minimum, I think, more than 10 rupees 10. So because a stamp of 5 rupees, envelope and printing, etc. And 8,000 means spending 80,000 in 1996 just to predict something without any return. And your reputation was also on a stake, because you are giving everything in black and white, posting to all over India in black and white on record. So your reputation was also on stake, but I took that risk at that time. Now, a very interesting thing happened after some days. An irrefutable evidence that forecasts were not a tall claim in retrospect, as usually happens these days, that if something happens, so suddenly Facebook and all social media is abuzz with that I said this and that, there and that. That this is not a tall claim in retrospect is borne by the fact that a leading financial newspaper, Business Standard, Bombay edition, carried an article based on this very letter on the front page of its edition dated 5th December 1996. Remember, I posted this letter around 12th November, and this article was published on 5th December 96 in Bombay, Business Standard. It must be mentioned that the tone of the article was satirical in nature, but that is not a matter of discussion here. Actually, it was a satire on me as an astrologer. But here, purpose of this article we are discussing is something else. This article shows that how ill-informed new generation is about our ancient heritage of Vedic astrology. The author of this article was somebody named Manas Chakravarti. Manas Chakravarti. The author of this article had made a joke of Indian astrology itself in this big article. However, the publication of Manas Chakravarti's article in a leading financial newspaper served the purpose of creating an irrefutable evidence that forecasts were not a tall claim in retrospect, that all forecasts were made well in advance and that the author of forecast was so confident about his astrological analysis that he publicized his forecasts at national level. Now, what was the article all about? As I said, that it is a satirical article. Here, a Panditji is shown with a parrot and somebody, so its image is itself shows that it is a satirical article. Now, read this, and because it will come handy what I am going to tell you later on. Falling market, I will read it a little fast because it's a big article. Falling markets breed their own fauna. Just concentrate on the words. Every word is satirical. It is a satire on me. Falling markets breed their own fauna. Apart from bears and short sellers, astrologers too have taken advantage of the uncertainty to make the plunging stocks markets their happy hunting grounds. So this article shows that market was in doldrums everywhere. It was a falling market at that time. Everybody was saying that market is going to go down and down, and all the resistance levels have broken. So this was the time. Then, so he is saying, make the plunging stock markets their happy hunting grounds. So he says that I was there to hunt customers. And these are no ordinary fortune tellers. They call themselves corporate astrologers, because my here I wrote it below my corporate astrologer. So he has written corporate astrologer. And they seem to have an answer to all the questions today's harassed investors or worried corporates may have, because markets were going down and down. So every investor was feeling harassed. Or so at least claims Shyam S Kansal. He gives my full name here. A proud member of this fast-growing profession. We, a group of research-oriented persons, are working on corporate horoscopes, and our experience shows that some major events in the life of companies were clearly depicted in their astral charts, he says. Not only does this corporate astrologer construct corporate horoscopes, he also does it exhaustively on a day-to-day basis, which means that these astrologers are not content to merely give wishy-washy technical advice. They do not, like some analysts, leave you hanging in the air by predicting sagely the markets will go down to 2500 when it may rebound depending on the resistance. No. Shyam S Kansal says very specific things, such as Reliance Industries may be in deep crisis from January 30 to March 1997, and the troubles may gravitate on February 6 and 7. Similarly, he confidently predicts that Bajaj Auto's worst period may be the first fortnight of January 1997, with the center of gravity around January 4 and 5. Kansal does not explain the frequent references to gravity in his forecast, but they undoubtedly add the necessary grave touch to his dire prognostications. But Kansal is not all doom and gloom. Variety is the spice of his predictions. For example, he says SBI's corporate horoscope does not spell any doom for the bank as a corporate entity. That should put to rest all those fears which people had about SBI changing into a partnership firm. This is a satire on me. Corporate astrology also has plenty of good cheer for the Christmas season. Kansal's band says, read this, his words again, Kansal's band say that the BSE Sensex may witness a sudden upsurge from December 13, because I gave a specific date a month ahead, and at that time, and normally during this time, Christmas holidays are coming normally, so the markets are always down because FIIs go to their own countries and start selling. So it was totally against the market's past behavior that it should have sudden upsurge from December 13 for a very short time till the Christmas holiday. What about the prices? At what prices? So it is saying that I am selling this at rupees 5,000 rupees per corporate horoscope in 1996. So he says one nagging question remains: why would these corporate astrologers? So these are all things. After now, this was a satirical article, but what it did for me, that he made a record that I made these predictions, and it was printed in a very reputable newspaper, Business Standard, on the front page, and it was quite a long article about my own letter was not so big, and bigger than my letter. This article was printed. After sending the above letter to 8,000 brokers and FIIs, etc., I also collected the news cuttings from leading financial newspapers. Now, after sending, I started collecting the cuttings from the financial newspapers like Economic Times for next few months to capture the mood of Indian bosses at the time of my making forecast and to keep a proper record of the actual happenings thereafter. Now, I will show you the list of events in the chronological order to assist yourself what happened after the publication of this satirical article on me. So now, this is from my own website. I have not, because this article is put on my website also. Here in below is the list of events in chronological order. Economic Times dated 29th November 1996. Headline: SBI posts rupees 640.80 crore net profit in first half of 1996-97. The profits were substantially higher than previous years, 95-96, because comparison is very necessary. If the 640 crore is good profit or not good, so you have to compare from the previous year, which was only rupees 230 crores only, and this year it was rupees 640 crore. The SBI script flared up in curved unofficial deals immediately, and we have predicted what we have predicted. We have predicted here State Bank of India. Its corporate horoscope do not spell any doom for the bank as a corporate entity. The relative strength of SBI script may be the main anchor for BSE Sensex stability during the first quarter of 97, when some other heavyweight might be in turmoil. So our prediction was perfectly okay. And here is the Economic Times dated 29th November 96. Here is the year. 29th November, SBI posts rupees 640 crore net profit in first half. So I kept the newspaper cuttings also for the record. Now, second, Economic Times dated 3rd December 1996 reports that MRTPC slaps notice on Bajaj Auto for restricting dealers. Here. This is 3rd December 1996. MRTPC slaps notice on Bajaj Auto for restricting dealers. So I have said that we had predicted that what we have predicted here, let us hear, is bound to enter in turbulent waters from 7th December 1996 onwards. And this turbulence in its fortunes is indicated till the end of period under scrutiny, 31st March 1997. Worst period may be the first fortnight of January 97, with center of gravity around 4th and 5th January 1997. So our prediction was perfectly okay. We had predicted that is bound to, this is the same. Business Standard dated 5th December 1996 headlines. Shares hit new lows. New lows. As Sensex dips 52 points. Sensex hits 2,745 figure on 4th December. According to analysts at UTI Securities, the Sensex is expected to touch 26. Yeah, totally gloomy scenario was there. The Sensex hits a new low at 2,745, and UTI analysts are saying that it is going to touch 2,600 very soon, within the forthcoming settlement only. Such a gloomy atmosphere persisted in the first week of December 1996, when we very courageously predicted that sudden upsurge from 13th December 1996. So everywhere was gloom all over India about the Sensex. And we have very courageously predicted 1 month prior that it can witness a sudden upsurge from 13th December 1996. Now, here is the Business Standard headline. December 5, 1996, shares hit new lows as Sensex dips 52 points. Here is the plunge continues. 2,890, then this one, and 2,745. And he is saying that it may go further down to 2,600. Take the percentage. How much percentage it is going down? According to analysts at UTI Securities, the Sensex is expected to touch 2,600 within the forthcoming settlement only. So it was a very gloomy atmosphere. The Dow has already crossed the 6,500 barrier. Okay. So here I mean to say that it was a very gloomy atmosphere all over India or all over the world in the share market. And I was very courageously saying that it is going to have a big upsurge on 13th December. Let us see what happens. Okay, the satirical article I have already shown you on 5th December. This article was published in the Business Standard on 5th December. One of my clients based in Bombay sent this cutting to me. Then the Economic Times dated now, this is very important. The Economic Times dated 12th December 1996 headlines. Sensex shoots up 143 points after PM promise. Sensex shoots up, let us see, this is very, very important. I said 13th December and this is 12th December, 1 or 2 days ahead. And see the percentage, how much percentage in a single day. The Sensex was hovering about 2,600 and 143 points. It may not mean today because currently Sensex is around 55,000 or 60,000. But it is very significant when it was hovering around 2,700 only, and 143 points means a lot of percentage. Sensex shoots up 143 points after PM promise. Prime Minister H.D. Deve Gowda was there, will review the controversial minimum alternate tax on companies before the next budget. So in a single day, it shoots up 143 points. And BSE Sensex can witness, and we have predicted our forecast that sudden upsurge from 13th December for a very short time. Then Sensex shoots up further during the week, because we have said that till Christmas holiday, it will keep shooting up. Our words were very clear. Our words were, can witness a sudden upsurge from 13th December 1996 for a very short time till Christmas holidays. January will see the Sensex going down. But here, concentrate on these words, 13th December for a very till Christmas holidays. It means next week it has to rise. So what was happening? Economic Times dated, it was a hefty 311 points rise within a span of 10 days only, just before the Christmas. So it means it was more than 10% rise, because Sensex was hovering around 2,700, and it was a surge of 311 points within a span of 10 days only. So 10% rise within 10 days. It means a lot. Then this is just before the Christmas holidays, December 21, Times of India. Sensex up 74 points again. During the week, it rallied by over 229 points on persistent and heavy all-around buying support. This one. Rise of 229 points within a week, almost 10% within a week. It was a huge rise. Then Economic Times dated 22nd December 1996. The paper carried an article by P.N. Vijay, a well-known stock analyst, titled "Buoyant Week for Market," in which he wrote that it was interesting that this type of rally should take place at the fag end of the year. Normally, this is the time when shares should have fallen. A well-known stock analyst, Mr. P.N. Vijay, clearly says here, this is 22nd December, he was amused that normally this is the time when stock market should be bearish. Every year it becomes bearish around the Christmas. But this is the violent week for the market. He says that it is interesting that this type of rally should take place at the fag end of the year. Normally, this is the time when shares have fallen. January has traditionally been a strong month. It is extremely difficult to predict. So, now, Economic Times dated 15th May 1997. Because we have predicted doomsday for the Bajaj Auto, very specifically in November. And Bajaj Auto nobody was apprehensive about its health. It was quite buoyant in the market. And we specifically say that its health is not good. But it was exposed in the chairman's speech only on 15th May 1997, Rahul Bajaj. This is the chairman's speech here. And it said, because instead of reading the complete article, it will be a very long, I have underlined it. he says, but the fall in growth started in October or November. Now, but in the second half, that is during October 96 to March 97, this was the period of our prediction. The growth in sales fell to just 1% over the corresponding period of the previous year, that is 95-96. Now, the interesting thing is, he says, but even for my own company, I don't frankly know the reasons. He himself was amused that he himself didn't knew the reasons. Political uncertainty does not explain the low growth in the second half of the year. We had a very good monsoon, because normally monsoon is blamed for lower sales, but we had a very good monsoon. Therefore, purchasing power should have been higher. My dealers say that people are just not buying scooters. This is very interesting statement by Mr. Rahul Bajaj. My dealers say that people are just not buying scooters. Everything is okay. Perhaps they are saving instead of buying. In fact, even this growth in sales was possible on account of a special financial scheme that Bajaj Auto Finance had announced. Without that, we would have done even worse. Now, you can see that this was the worst period of the Bajaj Auto, which was predicted for even around 5 or 6 months ago in November itself. He says that Bajaj Auto would have performed even worse if Bajaj Auto Finance has not announced the loan scheme. And now I had to cut down production plans for two-wheelers. Can you imagine that Bajaj Auto had to cut down the production? It always sold in black. It always sold on premium since generations. It was, and nobody could think of that Bajaj Auto had to cut down its production. And now you can see that chairman himself is admitting that I had to cut down production plans for two-wheelers. So this is the power of astrology, which could predict the horoscope of Bajaj Auto. Here are some experts. The industrial growth was quite satisfactory in the first half of 1996, but it fell in the second half. It is difficult to pinpoint the reason for the decline. The liquidity problem in the second half was not worse than what it was in the corresponding period of 95-96. Similarly, interest rates were not higher than those in the first half of the year or in the second half of the previous year. Hence, there must be some other reasons. He could not find what are the reasons. Hence, there must be some other reasons. It could be political uncertainty, but even the political uncertainty began after February 1997. So, I had to cut down production plans for him. His statement was in exact conformity of our forecast in November 1996. Our forecast was Bajaj Auto is bound to enter in turbulent waters from 7th December 96 onwards. This turbulence in its fortunes is indicated till the end of period under scrutiny, that is 31st March 1997. Worst period may be the first fortnight of January 97, with the center of gravity around 4. So very specific prediction was given about the script or company. Economic Times dated 3rd October 1997 carried an article headline, Bajaj stock value plummets 40%. It said that Bajaj Auto was the biggest victim of a drop in market capitalization on BSE. After the Sensex shed more than 700 points or 15% over its 52-week high, Bajaj Auto witnessed the maximum fall. Sensex fell only 15% and Bajaj Auto fell 40% among the Sensex stock. And we had predicted it month in advance. We have predicted clearly that Bajaj Auto will be a big calamity. And needless to mention, regarding the movement of the pivotal on Bombay Stock Exchange were almost correct, our prediction. These forecasts were later on beautifully analyzed. Now, there was a very good analysis by a IITian who was also an astrologer and Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan student. He analyzed our forecasts. He came across my forecast and he wrote an article. Mr. Anshu Mali Sood. He was the Jyotish scholar of international repute. Mr. Anshu Mali. Unfortunately, he is no more. He expired a few years ago due to some ailments. He was a student of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. Anshu Mali Sood is a consultant in environmental, was, and financial management. He is highly qualified professional, MTech in structural engineering and MTech in management, both from IIT, who has taken up Vedic astrology as a hobby. He qualified as Jyotish Acharya and Jyotish Alankar from the Institute of Astrology of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, New Delhi. Presently, he has been undertaking fund management and portfolio management of stock exchange. He was the publisher of globally circulated Vedic astrology bi-monthly journal. Okay. So what was his article? Now, it is a very good article on the use of Ashtakvarga and the financial astrology. As I have been saying that I use Ashtakvarga and the Sarvatobhadra Chakra both. So here is a Ashtakvarga and the financial astrology. He wrote, it was with a sense of pleasant surprise and a degree of disbelief that I had responded to the news from our family friend about regular courses on astrology being conducted. The end of our discussions made up my mind. I was determined to join the course and decide for myself whether astrology had the ability to visualize the future as is made out, or are the so-called rationalists correct when they debunk it all as hocus pocus. With a great feeling of expectation, I joined the course and was relieved to find in the group a number of fellow engineers, managers, doctors, bureaucrats, senior police officials, etc. Not to forget, we also had in the group 2 professors from the Delhi University, one from the field of medicine and the other from psychology. The 2 years spent in the study were indeed rewarding. The basic objective of any pursuit to know the future is to provide man with some tangible or intangible benefit to man in his day-to-day life. The essence of living is harmony. A man in harmony with his environment, with his work, with his desires, and with his family can lead a meaningful life. Any attempt to have knowledge of the future should be positively oriented and used as a contribution towards harmonizing one's life. It is indeed a blessing that the timing is coinciding with the personal computers becoming a household item. This article was written around 1996 or 97, remember. So it is around 25 years old article. So computers were quite new at that time. Normally, a detailed preparation of a complete horoscope with all its parts may have involved hours of tedious calculations. This can now be accomplished within seconds and does not require the astrologer to have any proficiency or knowledge of astronomy or mathematics. The 2 years provided a rich treatise of the varied facets of Vedic astrology, and believe you me, they are indeed varied, having a vast range of subjects and specializations. Needless to mention that to become a specialist in any of the fields of astrology would entail an amount of effort, time, and dedication very much similar to those required for becoming a specialist in any field of professional specialization, like engineering, medicine, etc., as are in vogue these days. May I venture to say that the innovative effort required would be manifold due to the lack of inadequate research and development in this subject, consequent to the detriment suffered by Vedic astrology at the hands of Mughal and British rulers of India. Now, a subject which impressed me, Anshumali Sood is saying that this is his article, not me. A subject which impressed me tremendously is Ashtakvarga. Credit for this is very much due to Mr. Vinayaditya. Vinayaditya, I hope you know that he is the author of a very good book on Ashtakvarga, Dots of Destiny, Application of Ashtakvarga. And he is a globally known author. And now I know most of you must be knowing him, who taught the subject to us. Perhaps, but for his handling of the subject in his own unique, open, and innovative manner, the same level of understanding and appreciation may not have been possible. He has authored a book on the subject, Dots of Destiny, acknowledged widely as being the best on the subject. Appreciation is also due to Mr. Vinayaditya, who subsequently taught the subject. The Shloka 12 in the chapter of Ashtakvarga in Brihat Parashar Hora Shastra states, while answering Maitreya, the most outstanding student, the sage Parashara says that the Jyotish Shastra has been divided into 2 parts, general and specific. The portion already described is the general part, and now I take on the specific part. It is this specificity that has attracted me to Ashtakvarga. While the basic natal chart, yogas, the dasha system, and the transit give us clear indications of the directions of events broadly, to be able to pronounce the relative nature of the results duly quantified on a particular day, day after day, with precision, has proven elusive so far. Possibly, I speak for a majority of us who have taken up the study of astrology. It is the desire to be able to have a precise judgment of a day to the extent possible that has been one of the prime motivating factor for taking up this study. Precision involves details, more or details, better the precision. Sage Parashara further states that just as there are auspicious and inauspicious results of the 12 houses with respect to the ascendant and the moon, in the same way, these houses have favorable and unfavorable results in relation to the other planets. The results relating to the auspicious and inauspicious events connected with the life of the native in the predictive astrology are based on the positioning of planets. For example, the planets being in the signs of exaltation, friendly, inimical, or debilation, located in an auspicious or inauspicious house, etc., and the timing of an event has been attempted on the basis of different Mahadashas and Antardashas, etc. According to Maharshi himself, it is difficult to say whether an event will take place in all certainty. At times, these parameters could emanate signals which are contradictory to and conflicting with each other. Therefore, under these contradictory situations, it is difficult to delineate the result. So much so, the predictions go quite wrong. To tide over these vexed problems, the Maharshi Parashara has expounded the Shastra of Ashtakvarga in great detail. So he has emphasized the importance of Ashtakvarga. Owing to the complex.
I have a question, sir. I have a question. So,
Yes, please.
So does that mean that when we are using Astakvarga, we should consider the Mahadasha and all that, or that's not needed because it's at a high level and Astakvarga is further deep down?
Yes, actually, everywhere it is written that Mahadasha, Antardasha should be considered normally. But Ashtakvarga itself is a very powerful tool. And if you, because I have been using Ashtakvarga since last 25 years, and I have seen that it points out the bottoms and tops and the turning points in a person's life or in a corporate life or in a stock's life quite precisely without using the Mahadasha itself, I can say.
Got it.
Huh?
Sure.
Because my Vjyotish software, which I developed, which uses Ashtakvarga in its almost very, I will not show that entirety because it will be a tall claim, but perhaps this is the only software which uses Ashtakvarga at its most. And now it uses the Jyotish Dasha a little, only 10%. 90% of it is Ashtakvarga transits only. And whatever I have shown you previously in the stock market, all those results were got through the Vjyotish only. So I hope I have answered your question.
So does that software include SBC or it's SBC is
No,
separate?
no. Actually, I told you that I depend on two methods normally, SBC and
Right.
Ashtakvarga both.
Okay.
So
Right.
they are independent. So, actually, I started working on SBC in 2005, about 15, 17 years ago. And I started working on Ashtakvarga in 1992, much earlier. So that's why I developed Ashtakvarga software prior to the SBC software.
Okay.
Okay.
But so how in today, as of today, I mean, I've used Astakvarga, to do, I would say.
Pardon?
I've used Astakvarga, but sometimes the signal flips, meaning higher value in Astakvarga really.
Actually, you might not be using Ashtakvarga properly. So that's why I intend to take some classes only on Ashtakvarga to have how I got those results.
Right.
Actually, this level 2 classes will not be solely on SBC. It will be a mixed classes because our ultimate target is to win in the markets.
Yeah.
And we are not here to learn SBC. We have learned the SBC in the level 1 itself.
Yes.
Okay. So now I will try to discuss various principles which I have been using and I have found good in my own experiences.
Sure. Thank you.
So I will try to discuss the SBC also. Of course, this is a SBC class, but I will also discuss because ultimate target is our ultimate aim is to win in the markets. Anyhow, we have to earn something from the market. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this article is was written by Anshumali Shoes. So I am showing you. It will show you the points. Owing to the complex or laborious and time-consuming calculation involved, Ashtakvarga may not have attained the heights that it has the potential. Now, this is the answer of your question, Mr. Malu. Actually, laborious and time-consuming calculations involved Astakvarga may not have attained the heights that it has potential or in the earlier times despite its strength and precision. The fact that such a subject was conceived and formulated in the times when virtually no calculation aids were available is in itself a statement of its underlying importance. With the growing popularity of computers, these extensive calculations have become relatively simpler, fortunately for aspiring astrologers of the current time. The availability of modern day computational aids has made it practical for astrologers having a research orientation to be liberal in attempting to apply various theories and hypotheses in this area. The time and effort involved for the mathematical calculations has reduced sufficiently for the astrologer neither to be scared or disheartened at the prospects nor lose focus or direction of his basic research. Ashtakvarga can be incorporated as well into a virtual chart, Prashna chart, any divisional chart, etc. Mr. Vinaditya had seen a vision which had been expressed thus. Computer astrology hitherto has been quite innate and its utility has been restricted to mathematical presentation only. I foresee a future when computer programs will be able to churn out a new kind of virtual or a daily report based entirely on Ashtakvarga and transits, which will give meaningful how is your day today from your individual birth data. Similarly, predictions based on the sun sign or the moon sign presently dished out in newspapers or magazines are so generalized that they become preposterous. Their popularity is only due to rules of probability. The desired objective, therefore, would be to have a system which would incorporate the genius of the Ashtakvarga principles along with the other vital astrological factors and produce a purposeful report for the native on a day-to-day basis, duly quantified numerically. To begin, the strength of the natal planets needs to be determined. This may be based on the following factors: number of benefic points obtained by the planet in their own Ashtakvarga, benefic points contributed by Kaksha Lord or not, Kaksha Bal of the planet based on Panchada Maitri status with Kaksha Lord, planet being combust or not, Shadvala status of the planet. When you combine all these factors in quantifying the Ashtakvarga results, then you get the results I just shown you. The strength determined by the above contributing factors would have an effect on the auspicious or inauspicious effects of the transit. Planets having a higher strength will enhance the auspicious result, and planets having lower strength will enhance the inauspicious result. Likewise, the strength of the planets in transit is to be determined. For evaluating the transit strength, the following factors may be taken into consideration: benefic points obtained by the planet in the sign being transited in its Vinnasta, Rashi Bila of the planet based on Panchada Maitri status with Kaksha Lord, in which it is currently situated, benefic points contributed by Kaksha Lord or not in the sign being transited by the planet considered. So these are the factors normally we should consider so that we can assess the exact Ashtakvarga value. The amalgamation of the above two strengths calculated could be suitably quantified in a numerical manner, depicting the auspiciousness or the inauspiciousness of a particular day for the native. Now, here he writes, my name, Mr. Shyam S Kansal has done pioneering work in this field. He has successfully developed software using Ashtakvarga and other relevant quantifiable astrological parameters, which aims at providing a sound basis to anyone looking for astrological guidance in everyday endeavors. He has also attempted to quantify factors that were hitherto not quantified. He has been the first and is the only person in our knowledge so far. I request to please mute your mics. Thank you. Yeah, please mute your mics, so the class is not disturbed. So he says that he has been he is referring me. He has been the first and is the only person in our knowledge so far who has recognized the potential of Astakvarga and married it to computers with very successful predictive results.
There is still a problem with the mic. I think they don't understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Can you please, Mr. Malu, mute the mic? Okay.
Sir, I was not the one, it's some other person.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry. Actually, okay. Mr. Rajiv, your mic is also on, so I am muting it. Huh? Okay. So please keep muted for a few more minutes. Mr. Okay. Mr. Shyam S Kansal has done pioneering work in this field. He has successfully developed software using Ashtakvarga and other relevant quantifiable astrological parameters, which aims at providing a sound basis to anyone looking for astrological guidance in everyday individuals. He has also attempted to quantify factors that were hitherto not quantified. He has been the first and is the only person in our knowledge so far who has recognized the potential of Astakvarga and married it to computers with very successful predictive results. The degree of success can only be adjusted based on actual results. Therefore, permit me to share a chain of events in their chronological order. Convinced of the veracity of the efforts invested and feeling that the time was right, he decided to share his views with the outside world. Now the system is equally applicable to all aspects of everyday life. Being an astute businessman, it was the word of finance that was chosen by him. Myself was not an astute businessman actually. My father was a businessman, so he has referred me as an astute businessman. On 12th November 1996, he sent an open letter. I just shown you this one, this letter. He is referring to this letter to various fund managers, portfolio managers, stockbrokers, etc., introducing his method of analysis and predictions. Therein also was a set of predictions pertaining to the movement of leading pivots on the stock market for the period until 31st March. That this is not a tall claim, so this is all the same history I just told you. It must be mentioned that the tone of the article was satirical in the nature, but that is not the matter of this discussion here. I do now wonder if it was a mere coincidence that this article caught. Now this is the main thing. Actually, Mr. Anshumali Sood read this article. So now he says that I do now wonder if it was a mere coincidence that this article caught my attention then, and that I had approached Mr. Vinay Aditya with the same to seek his view. I did resolve to trace and contact Mr. Kansal to have him throw more light on his approach. It was indeed a pleasant surprise when Mr. Vinay Aditya informed me a couple of weeks thereafter that I need not make further efforts as he had received a letter from the very same Mr. Kansal. Actually, I wrote a letter to Mr. Vinay Aditya at that time to assess my work, as he was a celebrated author of the Dots of Destiny. So he is referring to that letter. It was way back in 1996. It was with a sense of expectation that I approached Mr. Kansal to understand and appreciate his achievements. The meeting was a satisfying experience, and at its conclusion, I had gained a friend with similar interest and impressed by the thoughts, dedication to the subject displayed by him. Actually, Mr. Sood visited my place in Bulandshahr. Needless to mention that his predictions regarding the movement of the pivotals during the period were correct. Sensex was predicted to witness a sudden upsurge around 13th December 1996 for the short period. On 4th December 1996, Sensex hit a 52-week low. Business Standard in its edition dated 5th December has quoted analysis of at Unit Trust of India, expecting the Sensex to touch a level of 2,600 within the forthcoming settlement. In this backdrop, the Sensex shot up sharply by 143 points on 11th December. This led a leading stock analysis to state in the Economic Times that it is interesting that this type of rally should take place at this figure of year. Perhaps particularly interesting has been the case of Bajaj Auto Limited. The share was predicted to lose value while majority of the market felt that it would shoot up. Astrological analysis prevailed over the conventional economic analytical approach. Now, this is the important observation. And the share took a battering in the coming months. The significance of the period and the intensity of its impact on the company can be gauged on the basis of the interview of its chairman, Mr. Rahul Bajaj, published in the Economic Times dated this. So much so that Economic Times carried an article in its edition dated 3rd October with the headline being Bajaj stock plummets 40%. The story does not end here. Encouraged by the vindication of his efforts, he arranged to have the reports of previous 10 years generated through the system described above validated by none other than Mr. Rahul Bajaj, chairman of the company. Yes, actually, I got validated 10 years results, last 10 years happenings through the same system. And one of my astrologer friend who lives in Kotdwar, Mr. Pushkar Mohan Mehthani, was known to Mr. Rahul Bajaj. He said that he will personally go to Pune and meet Mr. Rahul Bajaj. He had a meeting and he got validated by none other than Mr. Rahul Bajaj, the happenings of the last 10 years. Of the 74 critical dates identified, 69 were confirmed as having been significant for the company in some or the other manner. Of the remaining 5, adequate data was not readily available. This goes on to confirm the multilateral utility of the method and its multidimensional applicability in all spheres of everyday life. This could go on further, but the point I am trying to make has in all probability been conveyed. The practical applications of Astakvarga, as explained, have unlimited potential, waiting to be tapped for the good of mankind. However, as far as the readers of Vedic astrology are concerned, all that has been stated is above the past. What of the coming months, based on this very methodology, the share of Bajaj Auto Limited is likely to be doing well on the bounces during most of July and August and part of September 1998. On the flip side, the script will be under bear pressure and face declines during that. So I hope this article and the previous examples must have shown you the powers of Ashtakvarga in stock market predictions. So let us finish this class on this note, and we will meet in the next week. So this is a time to say goodbye, good night. So thank you very much. Okay, good night.
I have a quick question, sir.
Yes, please.
So are we going to start taking practical examples from next class, or it's going to be more theory?
Actually, I will take whatever will be needed in the classes It may be the practical examples, it may be the past examples, it may be the future examples, predictions, whatever will be needed to explain my point, to convey my point, to let you learn. So that is my all motive.
Right. And this session will have how many classes? 16 again? 16?
Yes, 16 again. Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is the first class of the second level. Out of the 16 classes, this is the first class.
And then you will explain those 5 steps that you just in detail, right? The 5
Yes,
steps.
I will try to explain each and every step in as much detail as I can. So, because my ultimate aim is to let you learn the methods. Okay?
Right. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.